I have Andrew Walker here, and he is the director of the Amon Carter Museum. And you have such amazing things. I mean, we're sitting in front of one of Remington's last paintings in 1908. Yep. He dies in 1909 of appendicitis. So tell me a little bit about the museum. I'm just enthralled with your museum.
Well, it's, we're in our 61st year. So by the nature of museums across America, we're pretty young still, although we're firmly in our, late middle age. And it really established from Amon Carter's desires, but he's sadly passed away before the museum was manifest, but he put that in his will that there would be a museum for the city of Fort Worth that would focus on his collection of the American West. And Remington and Russell were the principal artists that Amon Carter collected over the course of his lifetime, but really majorly after he found his wealth. I think there was this stuff called oil that he found on one of his lands. But that really generated, he was a very modern person in the context of the 20th century, and that his industries were media through the newspaper and then radio and television, oil as a resource, and aviation. So even though he self-fashioned himself a bit of a Texas cowboy, when you look at the industries that he really brought to not only Texas, but influential across the nation, he was pretty savvy. But Remington was an artist that he found particularly significant because he manifests, as did Charlie Russell, this notion of the American West that had the values for him that really established an American identity that was somewhat unique in the world. And so the notion of, in this instance, it's a late work, as you said, Mark, but it's getting that sort of cowboy individualism that was very much a part of Western identity and that he wanted people to understand and accept. And he just happened to believe to do that through art. So he amassed probably at the time the largest collection of Remington and Russells in the world, but of course the country. And he had a competitor down the street here in Sid Richardson, who was also a very savvy businessman and oil magnate, really one of the big oil guys for Texas in the early part where that resource became so important for the country. And so they went back and forth and who would have the best Remingtons and Russells. We're fortunate in Fort Worth to have not only Amon Carter's collection in that Western context, but also Sid Richardson's collection at the Sid Richardson Museum in downtown Fort Worth. So you really, if you come to Fort Worth and you love Remington and Russell, you can get a deep, deep experience.
In fact, we just did. We went to the Sid Richardson and saw it. They wouldn't let us photograph, but they did in the Amon Carter. So thank you so much for letting us do that. And it is one of the greatest collections, not only of this, but they have modern art. They have a 1914 Marston Hartley, which is unbelievable. They have Richard Avedon. They have right now a Nevelson sculpture show. It's an important museum that everybody who's interested in Western Native art should show up and see.
I agree 100%, of course. I'm a convert. But the part that is so interesting is that after Amon Carter passed and his daughter, Ruth Carter, and later Ruth Carter Stevenson, really led the charge to build the museum and to bring a bigger story of American art to Fort Worth, because she always saw the efforts as being not only about the region, but also about the nation. And she wanted to make sure that on this so-called frontier, there was aesthetic and cultural sophistication that would not have to apologize to anyone about what Texas could bring to the national story. And so if you come here, you will of course have a deep experience in the American West, but sometimes you got to look for it, because Sargent and Whistler and Homer and exactly.
Right, they're there. I've seen them all today.
But she was an intimate. Her contribution to the Western story is complicated. I won't go into it, but she was an intimate of the Stieglitz artists, and in particular, over time, of Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yes.
And something many people don't know is the Carter did the first really full career retrospective of O'Keeffe. She was still alive in 1966.
Wow.
And that was a year or so before it happened in New York. So, we like to think that we're doing some, benefit, and that ambition. And if y'all been to Texas, you know that Texans have a sense of their ambition to not play second fiddle to anyone.
Yeah, and this museum, they don't. And one of the keys that's there is Rancho de Taos, 1930-31, which is just an amazing piece that hits you when you first come in the door. So
it's very true.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, I'm glad you're here,
yes.
For sure.
Yep.
I know we're here to celebrate Louise Nevelson, so that's our most current exhibition that we did. Nevelson, again, was an artist of super importance in the post-war era, and somebody that Ruth got to know and appreciated her work and began collecting it early on, not only in the sculptural three-dimensional form, but as her experience as an artist working with the Tamarind Press. We have both of her series of works there to really show that 3D and 2D for her were both platforms for innovation.
So it opens today, basically, for August 25th, and then when does it close?
It's like never ask a director for specifics.
So it'll be open
January.
for a while.
It closes at the end of the first week of January. So you have a good chunk of the end of the summer and the beginning of and throughout the fall into the winter to be able to see it here, and we're thrilled. And something that Mark, that you helped me understand a little bit better in a thrilling way, was the curator who did the exhibition here. Her name is Shirley Reese Hughes. Also did a project with the contemporary artist Leonardo Drew, and I know you have a relationship with him.
Yes, we collect his work, and they have an amazing piece that's up through June of 24. That I did see.
And I was overwhelmed with it. But the thing that I would say to connect the two is, one, they both are reclaimers.
Yes.
And he certainly has admired Nevelson for that purpose. But they also both create alternative universes. And I didn't know that about the one downstairs. He's created an entire universe, which just thrilled me because I like the world of fantasy when it comes to...
Yeah, no, he does. In fact, we did a podcast with Leonardo Drew on the Art Dealer Diaries. You can go and watch that. It's really interesting. He's an amazing artist.
Well, and I just have to plug y'all at Medicine Man because I was sharing with you that I watched your social media inputs with the Indian market this year in Santa Fe. And not only did I learn a lot, but the appreciation for supporting that organization in a meaningful way is really important. So what I would say is if you come to Fort Worth to see the Carter and get a healthy dose of both American and Western American art, head to Tucson and go to the Medicine Man Gallery because you'll get an amazing array of not only traditional, but also contemporary, more modern Western art.
Yeah, we do like it all. That's why this museum resonates so deeply to me, because it does have everything. It has modern, it has Western, it has all the things that I find interesting in one big museum that's kind of just like the museum. So you come to Fort Worth, you've got to come to this museum.
And the last thing I'll say is you can do it in an hour. So it's not going to exhaust you.
You cannot do it in an hour. I've already been here 2 hours. You cannot do it in an hour. If you really want to look, it takes a little longer. I mean, just one painting could stop you.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
Thank you very much.
Hey, it's my pleasure. So good to see you.
All right. Thank you, Andrew Walker, the director of the Amon Carter Museum.